What's up guys, I got a special video for you guys. 3 of the streaming services have all released movies today, and I decided to not just review one of them because I couldn't choose between them. So what I did was make it a triple threat between these movies, and the winning movie gives their streaming service a trophy. You excited yet? Cause I am. Without further ado, let's get into it. I'm Valentin McMahon, the movie guy, and let's start this triple threat. Introducing the movie from the red corner, representing Netflix, The Five Bloods. This movie is about 4 African-American Vietnam War veterans and one son who returned to Vietnam to find the remains of their friend who died during the war, Stormy Norman. They have all their paperwork in order from the Pentagon and the Vietnamese government, but they also have another piece of business to attend to. During the Vietnam War, they found a big chest full of gold bars that they chose to hide and keep for themselves. Now, they're also trying to sell the gold bars and become rich. The movie is too long, clocking in at 2 hours and 34 minutes. It could be cut down to 2 hours easily. It dragged on a bit towards the end. Spike Lee has one of the most interesting cinema styles out there. The intro, where there is a collage of African Americans talking about their rights, how they were neglected even though they fought for their country, was really intriguing. It glued me on my seat right from the start. When one of the soldiers shows the others a picture of him from Vietnam, the picture appears on a screen like you would in a video game. It is very aesthetically pleasing. It is also beautiful. When the movie is in present time, the camera captures in landscape. The colors are different. But when it is in the past, the camera takes the form of a box and the colors look really old. The only negative that I have about the old scenes, and it did take me out of the experience, is that while Chadwick Boseman is young, the other 4 actors don't have a younger replacement. It's still them and they look really old. Too old for them to be alive during the Vietnam War and in present time as well. I like Otis. He's the calm-headed one. He had a fling with a Vietnamese girl during the war. He actually has a child with her that he didn't know about. He knows how to act nice and talk business. Paul is the aggressive one. It is clear that the war has affected him worse than the other soldiers. He is rude, racist towards the Vietnamese, and he feels like a ticking time bomb. Norman is also an interesting character, a charismatic leader. He stole the scenes when he was on the screen, thanks in part to Chadwick Boseman's performance. David Paul's son is also intriguing, a son who never got the love and attention that he deserves because of his father's demons. One thing that this movie gets very right is the relationship between the characters. They all feel like they know each other, like they've actually been in the war together. Their dialogue is very organic, it doesn't feel forced, and their banter is actually quite funny. The cast do a phenomenal job at portraying the characters. Chadwick Boseman is very intense as Norman, and he made me really appreciate the character. Clark Peters plays Otis, and if you've seen a movie with him, you know what to expect. He plays the role credibly and was perfect for the job. Delroy Lindo was the standout performer. He played Paul. He managed to scare me when his crazy side turned out, and he deserves a lot of praise for his portrayal of a soldier suffering from PTSD. The best scene of this movie is set during the war. They are waiting in a jungle for the enemy, and then you hear these Vietnamese soldiers talking about returning home, kissing their girlfriends, how they should be heroes for their women, and then they get gunned down by the ambushing American soldiers. That's really powerful. I enjoyed this movie. Like I said, it is a bit too long and some people might get turned back because of it, but it is really good. And because of the current situation that is happening in America, I think that this movie is going to get a lot of attention and it is deserved. My rating for The Five Bloods is 4 stars. Up next, the movie from the white corner, representing videos on demand, The King of Staten Island. Scott Carlin is a young adult who spends his time in his basement along with his friends, smoking weed and playing video games or watching movies. And he actually has some mental problems. His father died in a fire and he hasn't gotten over it. He takes antidepressants, he doesn't go out, but he does have one passion, and that is tattooing. He wants to open up a tattoo restaurant where he will serve chicken and tattoo people. His sister leaves for college, his mother starts dating again, and that pushes Scott out of his comfort zone. I really like the dialogue in this movie. Scott Carlin feels like a real person because of what he says and how he says it. The comedy is actually pretty funny. It's my kind of funny. It's the type of fun that you have when you go out with your friends. It's not forced comedy. It's not getting hit by something comedy. It's not fart comedy. It just feels like real people making fun of each other. And the banter is really good. For example, his sister tells him, "Time flies fast, you got to get your ish together," and he says, "That's why I smoke weed, it slows it all down." This movie starts really well, but it gets into a different gear way too late. It's basically more of the same for about an hour and 40 minutes, and then we learn more things about Scott's dad, and Scott changes his behavior. I would have loved for this to happen sooner because I think that there were a lot of unnecessary scenes in this movie. Pete Davidson is the man in this movie. He plays Scott Carlin and he owns this role. He is the king of Staten Island, and a fun fact, Pete Davidson is actually born in Staten Island. I couldn't help but look at his expressions and just smile. This role fits him like a glove. I would actually like to hang out with Scott. That's how well he fleshed him out. Bill Burr is also in this movie. He plays Ray, his mom's boyfriend. MGK plays a tattoo artist. Action Bronson plays a guy who got hurt and is about to die. Marissa Tomei plays Margie, Scott's mom. Steve Buscemi has a pretty good supporting role as well. This movie has some big names attached to it. There are two scenes that I like to talk about. Number one, Scott gives a 9-year-old kid a tattoo, and the next day his father comes to his mother's house to yell a lot and ask for the money to get it removed. The conversation between the father, which was played by Bill Burr, and Scott was effing hilarious. They were going back and forth. Scott was saying that the kid gave his consent. The father said that the kid was 9, he didn't have a consent to give. It was really hilarious. The second scene is when Scott has to fight another busboy for the tips, and they are trying to do the footwork that they see from Creed, and they just look like they're dancing. Scott even says, "Are we doing the Cotton Eye Joe?" It was again hilarious. This movie is really a fun time. I expected the King of Staten Island to be good, and it was. It was a lot of the same for the majority of the movie, which turned me off because it seemed that the big character turning point will not come, and it is a bit too long, but overall, I enjoyed this movie, and I know that a lot of people will too. So, my rating for the King of Staten Island is 3.5 stars. And now, presenting the purple corner, representing Disney Plus, Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl is a genius kid whose father goes missing. He is distraught, of course, and he receives a call from someone. That someone tells him that if he doesn't give him the Aculos, he's going to kill his father. The problem is that Artemis doesn't know where the Aculos is. He has to find it to free his dad, but there are other people searching for it as well. I didn't like any characters in this movie. Artemis is not likable. He's too smug. He finds the answers to all of the questions too conveniently. He just didn't have anything that made me like him. But he wasn't the worst character of the movie. No. That honor belongs to Mulch Diggums, the narrator, who is supposed to be this amazing storyteller, but he sucks. He's the Joker of the characters, and all of his jokes are really bad. The villain is absolute trash. It appears in just 5 or 6 scenes, and the final fight is just as trash as the antagonist is. Ferdia Shaw is awful as Artemis Fowl. There are no expressions on his face, he is just blank. And sometimes he has this smirk on his face that makes me want to slap him. All of the actors feel like they're phoning it in. Colin Farrell is the only one that I would say is decent. He is far from his best, but even his worst is still good, so he gets a bit lucky. This movie was awful. I actually had big expectations for it. I thought it was going to be like Men in Black. It was really bad, and I want to forget that I've ever watched it. So my rating for Artemis Fowl is 1 star. So the only thing that is left to do is to decide who takes home the trophy, and it is, drumroll please, The Five Bloods from Netflix. It was quite apparent from the ratings that Netflix was going to leave with a trophy. It had the best movie on the streaming services. However, a lot of people will enjoy The King of Staten Island as well. Not too many will like Artemis Fowl. So that concludes this new event. Netflix will defend their trophy next week, and I'm interested to see if they can hold onto it against a streaming service that is making its debut on my channel. Until then, stay safe and stay tuned.